Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to this week's energy forecast. Before I begin, I tend to forget to say this. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. That really helps me spread this, and I greatly appreciate your support. So, the message that I was receiving for this week ahead is a very big transformational energy. So with transformational energy, there can kind of feel like this sense of renewal, which is really uplifting, inspiring, but it can also feel a little nerve-wracking. And you may feel a little disoriented this week. And know that the trick here to making it through the week with ease is reminding yourself that it's okay to not feel steady, to not feel all that confident in this fresh energy. And a lot of years I don't find the new year to feel all that different, but there's, new year aside, the energy of this week is transformational. It just so happens to be the first week of January. So when you're feeling that agitation or that discomfort and that tendency to want to go back to old habits of yours that feel really familiar and comfortable, catch it as soon as you can. Catch that, that angst, that irritation, that kind of friction, and say, oh, this is normal. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. I am entering a different period of my life, and when I do anything new, the discomfort is to be expected. That being said, if you are on the opposite side of the spectrum here and not feeling that at all, feeling maybe a little bit sluggish, not really feeling like new year, new you kind of vibe going on, that will come probably, I'm feeling like around March or so. So if you're not writing intentions, if you haven't jumped into a new routine or any of that, know that your shift is coming about just a little bit further down the road. And in the March area, you will, probably leading up to March, you will start to feel this inner shift start to happen, this desire to expand, this shift in your feelings of confidence, but even deeper than that, self-worth. And when we, and even people that are feeling like this new year, new me vibe going on, that's really what I see shifting throughout this year, is this connection to our value, connection to what really matters to us. In the past couple years, as you know, with the pandemic, it has reorganized things, and what a gift that is. I work with a lot of different cancer patients, and me having my experience with my mom being going through that cancer journey, I see it over and over and over again that when you hit rock bottom, when you hit that point of sickness or this massive shift in your life, going from I'm fine and well to, oh, I'm dying of cancer, that reorganizes your life in minutes. You get real clear on what matters, where you want to be focusing your attention, and that's quite a gift. And I do believe that's happening as a collective. Also, if you have kids, younger or older, know that we have a tendency to look at younger generations and say, oh, I can't believe they have to deal with this. Oh, I can't believe. But remember, from each generation that comes before or comes after us, they have a different place from which they're growing. So you yourself came into the world at a certain point of evolution, from your parents and then you, and so you're at this set point, and then the children come in and they're at this set point, and then their children come in, and we just continue to kind of pile on top of it's like we stand on top of each other's heads. So each new generation has a different vantage point. So it's very easy and normal to look at younger generations from your perspective and go, oh, how are they going to deal with this? This is going to be so hard. But keep this in mind that each generation that comes after you is standing on the next the generation before them, before them, on their shoulders. So they get a higher perspective every single generation. So my point being, don't worry too much about the younger generations. They have tools, they have gifts, they have a deep awareness. They are just starting from a different place. So for us to judge where someone begins and what that could look like for them, it's really impossible. So for this week of transformation, this inner transformation going on, so you may not see it so much in your outer world. You may not see your job change. You may not see anything increase or decrease, your weight, your relationships. Like things outside of you aren't going to have this rapid shift just because you feel a little different on the inside. But that is the most important shift to be happening, is the one inside of you. Because the inner transformation allows you to root down into this knowing that I am worthy, that I've got me, that I can navigate the seas of life with confidence because I've made it through what I've made it through so far. And that eventually starts to translate outwardly. But we get so hooked on the outward manifestation of the car or the job or the lover or the change in location, whatever it is you're really aiming for. But if you could allow the only process you really have control of, which is the planting of the seeds, the fresh idea, ooh, I really want to do more of this, letting that be your primary focus, I promise the outer world will respond eventually. Your work is to keep planting the seeds and nurturing them, and not being too concerned about when those seeds come into bloom. And remember, you always have the freedom to choose. You have the freedom to choose who you talk to. You have the freedom to choose how you dress, how you show up, how you are in interactions with people. That is the precious gem that I think we're forgetting about sometimes because of society's conditioning about this is how you behave, this is what being polite looks like, right? This is what success looks like. And putting that all aside and really reminding yourself at any moment, I have the freedom to choose to change my perspective or change the way I'm reacting to this person. At any point, you can adjust your course. At any point in an argument with someone, you can step back and say, hey, you know what? I know I'm defensive. I don't know how you feel, but I know I'm feeling defensive, so I was probably attacking you. I apologize. Can we reset here? I kind of need a minute. Do you need a minute? You know, we at any point, no matter how dramatic a scene is unfolding, you can correct your course. And the most fantastic thing is you don't need to think about, is this the course I want to be on? You don't need to think that because there's so many other things we're thinking. What is imperative that you do is you feel. How does this feel when I'm saying this thing to this person? How does this feel when I'm driving in my car to go see that person or go to that meeting or whatever it is? How am I feeling? How does it feel to be reciting this conversation that I think is going to happen? It doesn't feel all that great. Well, okay, so I can feel that. So the key is to continue to feel your way to the place that feels the best to you in the moment. Sometimes the best to you isn't like happy-go-lucky. Sometimes it is an assertive, kind of aggressive energy. Like, this feels good to me. Like, I know, yeah. So deciding for yourself, what feels best to me? How do I want to be feeling? What feels best to me right now? If you have a hard time setting boundaries, going to a meeting where you know you may feel a little wobbly, you may feel really swayed by other people's opinion because you want to please them. Affirming to yourself, at any point when I feel that kind of tug, when I feel myself not feeling connected to myself anymore, I can readjust. I am free to choose. I'm free to course correct at any time. And no one can take that away from you. If you're in jail, you're probably not listening to this, but you know, that's a pretty tough situation to be in, and you probably made some life choices and what have you that got you there, but you are there, and there's a bit of acceptance of it's a bit of a practice in acceptance of, okay, I don't really want to be going to this meeting, I don't really want to be in jail, but I am where I am, and it has to be all right. So from where I am, how do I want to respond? How do I want to choose to look at this situation? Because that's really what I do for people. You come to me with issues, or maybe not even issues, you just come to me to feel even better than you already do, and you share your perspective about where you are and how you're feeling and how things are unfolding in your relationship with your husband, and right, all those different things. And I'm standing in my center, connected to source, to the divine, to infinite intelligence, hearing what you say, and when need be, I am able to offer just a slightly different perspective, either this way, or above or below. I am able to kind of hear you so clearly, and also ask questions that allow us to kind of look at this a little differently. What is possible here that is beyond what you've already comprehended? So you have that same ability to see a situation, to look at it and say, okay, I know this is how I feel. And I think I mentioned it last time, we tend to go worst case scenario. This is how I feel, because, you know, fear is something, when we think worst case scenario, it's a form of protection. We want to protect ourselves. So if I think worst case scenario, then when anything less than that happens, I feel okay. So again, even in a really great situation, when you're looking at it and feeling good about it, there's always another perspective. You could always feel a little bit better. You could always feel a little bit worse. And so if you're in a situation where you feel not so great about it, reminding yourself at any point, I have the freedom to choose to think of this differently. And we don't want to be faking it, like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great meeting. It's like, okay, no, maybe the meeting really does suck. Maybe, you know, it's a tough conversation. You have to fire someone. You have to have a hard conversation with somebody else about their, you know, budgeting or whatever it may be. And it's like, yes, this is a tough conversation, and maybe something really wonderful can come out of it. Maybe this conversation is going to help him realize something, and her shift there in me realize that I can come to any situation that's really challenging. And because I'm holding this perspective of this could turn out in unlimited ways, and instead of saying this is the course that it's going to take, instead saying this is what I hope for, this is how I'm going to show up, and I trust that these other people, we're all playing a part together. We're all, you know, that's what community is about, that each individual brings a different piece that we didn't have before their input existed in our reality. So moving through this week, understanding this transformational energy, and even looking at your own life, what transformation do you feel taking root or expanding or coming to kind of an end point and starting the growth process, kind of the seedling in the ground again? Notice what's going on. When you notice what's going on in your own life, you are able to witness others with a much deeper level of compassion, because you know what it's like to be going through a transformation and having a little hard time, or feeling a little weary or unsettled, not quite grounded. So for the physical body this week, grounding will be very important. If you're on the East Coast, it is pretty cold, and that tends to make us go inward and feel a little bit tenser. So to loosen up movement outside, I am always a proponent of grounding, connecting with the earth, and that I'm talking like hands on the earth, feet on the earth, if you want to put your face on the earth or on a tree or something like that, because using our devices, even when you're driving, right, you're literally disconnected from the road, from the earth. And so finding something that you can do as a regular practice to help bring your energy not down in a sense of like not feeling as rambunctious or energized, but down in a sense of, okay, I'm not just operating up here. We often get kind of cut off energetically. When I'm working on people, I can feel kind of the heaviness in the head, and it feels heavy to me, but to the client, they often feel kind of head in the clouds, really busy, but there's a disconnect between the mind and the body. So finding a way to connect the mind and body, movement is a wonderful way, meditation, again, grounding, eating. If you tend to be more anxious this week in particular, make sure to eat before you get into anything. It's a nice way to bring yourself into your body. And we can go from a state of feeling really kind of frenetic and bouncy, bouncy, bounce. And that feels good sometimes, but often when we get into that kind of buzzy space, we're not listening to the signals from our body. And our body is the place, it's constantly communicating. The body does not lie to us, whereas the mind can play tricks. The mind can tell you, oh, your wife really is interested in that man, when it's really your own insecurities about not being enough, okay? But the body tells something different. The body tells you the truth. The body tells you when you've eaten too much cheesecake. The body tells you when you've had not enough to eat. It's communicating to you, and maybe we need to reestablish that relationship to our body. And when, again, we're feeling all buzzy and excited and all jazzed about things, there can be a disconnect. So then we're not getting the cues from our body and from our emotional center, that inner intelligence that's saying, I really need a break from this, or this really feels great and I want to do more of that. We're not getting the information from body to mind. So a wonderful treat for you is going to be navigating that path of what helps me connect my mind and my body. And body includes the emotional center as well. And I believe that 2022 is going to be a year of greater ease, in the sense that when you go through something really hard, everything else seems quite a bit easier. It's not funny, but I told Brad, my fiance, that, you know, he was having a hard time about something, and I said to him, you know, your mom died, and once you lose your mom, there's like not much more that tops that. And we don't have children, so I imagine that being a parent, there are some situations that could top that, but you know, it's almost, you're not untouchable, but when you lose the person that brought you into this world, it's kind of hard to rock that person's boat, you know? And I didn't really realize this until watching him go through this so recently, just in the past 9 months, him grieving his mom, and it's been 17 years for me, and realizing when you lose something, when you hurt so bad, when you've survived a pandemic, even though we're still in the midst of it, but you survived the massive unknown periods, and maybe you had COVID yourself and you survived that, you start to have this resilience. And though suffering really sucks, it is so natural. We come through the birth canal suffering. I actually was born with a broken collarbone because my shoulders were so wide. So it's like I was born in pain. Imagine squeezing through the birth canal. That is painful. Then we get teeth. How painful, right? And throughout life, we have all different sources of pain. That is the most natural thing. Our human consciousness is a thing that's like, I want to feel joy. And so joy really is the gift of life. And when we're connected to our body, when we are aware of our suffering and acknowledging it's normal to suffer, you are not being punished, that immediately allows this kind of heaviness to rise up off of you, and for you to feel this lightness that I am not wrong for suffering, that suffering, like the pandemic, and kids not understanding it. Like, I watch my nieces and nephews not understand it, like time and time again. Your friend can't come over, soccer's canceled, you are leaving school early, whatever it may be, because of COVID. And they're like, COVID, right? COVID, what is that? It's helping them appreciate when I do get to see my friend or my auntie and my uncle, because they realize that just in a blink of an eye, things get taken away, things change. When you think you got soccer on Sunday and then all of a sudden, no, you don't, right? It's allowing them to become more resilient. And that's precisely what they're going to need for this world that they're growing up in. So your suffering, your pain has made you more resilient, but it doesn't need to make you hard. It doesn't need to make you defensive and need to keep people out because of the danger that may happen. Danger's all around. We're all in this as human beings. You know, we signed up to live life knowing we would be born and we would die. We're all in, guys. We're all in it. So look at your fellow neighbor knowing we ultimately all have that end date, and that trying to run away from suffering, it creates this monster, this kind of like haunting behind you. And the greatest thing you can do when you're suffering is to just turn and look at it, to turn and witness it for what it is, and look to the best of your ability and bring it out of the closet, bring it out of the dark, and shine the light of your awareness on that fear and watch what happens. So thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.